Hi, this is Matt from LifeStamp. I'm going to take you on a high-level walkthrough of the CIMS CMC Batch History and Genealogy database. I've logged in here as the system administrator, and every user that's logged in will see those entities on the left that they have permission and access to. You'll see all of the clinical compound IDs registered in the system across the top, and in the very upper right are all of the different products that you have access to. As the system administrator, I have both oversight in CIMS for clinical operations in CMC and the administrative settings. Now, the easiest way to start with reporting from the system is to click on one of these compound IDs, and the system will draw for you boxes that represent each batch in the genealogy of the compound. At the top is the compound itself. Down here, we've got one reference standard and one drug product. The boxes will also give you some information about the approval status, who created it, the batch number, and any other notes. And what is in this box is configurable in the administrative settings. You can click on another compound ID, and the system will draw the genealogy for that compound as well. This guy has a few more batches going on. If you click the hyperlink of any of these batches or the compound, it will open up that entity to show you all of the fields involved, as well as the various attachments that can be added to these batches. So at the top, you can see some control buttons, which we'll talk about in a minute. Here is the amount remaining and your stability pool in a graphical representation, as well as all of your fields. Some of these are pick lists, which are configurable again in the administrative settings. And these are the different attachments that can be added to each precursor batch: files, dispensations, impurities, approval workflows, and child precursors. In general, if you have the permissions, there are buttons for new entities along with all of these attachments that let you manage the data and add to it. Among these are files. Here we have an NMR example. Dispensations, whether it's for impurity analysis, stability testing, or site shipments, you can put those in here with the different buttons to create each new kind of dispensation. And the site shipments, as well as stability testing, can be tied to your site. Which types contain the site and which other stability information is also configurable in the settings. Impurities can be attached to different types of precursors, which is configurable. They can be marked as detected, and then users with rights can add a new detection of an impurity or create a whole new impurity that is then usable in other batches. Here are our approval workflows. Here's an example of one that was approved, sent to just one user after being created. And these are the child precursors. So that's one way to get very detailed information on one batch. There is the batch report, which contains all of the fields from all of the batches in one downloadable flat report. And you can get to the download through the Actions menu. You can choose your standard CSV for Excel, you can get a web page, or you can tick this and send an email. In addition, you can customize this report by adding or removing columns as desired. You can also filter with different conditions on different columns. You can also highlight, aggregate, chart, many other things from this menu. And when you're happy with it, you can also save it to your own set of reports, or you can check a box to make it public, and it'll show up in here for everyone. There are also dispensation level reports, which contain all of the fields for all of the dispensations in the system. And again, what you see here is configurable. This is an out-of-the-box configuration. There are also a number of different canned reports in here that change the different fields and the orders and what you see for different purposes. The basic entities list, like formulations, and people with rights can pick which formulation is used in batches that are formulation based. This list is again manageable by those with rights. Each precursor type itself will also have an independent report that again can be downloaded. And what you see here are the fields involved in these precursors. So this is less configurable than your other reports, but is much more straightforward. And you can also open the entity from here with the icon. Your list of clinical compounds is also easily downloadable if you so desire. And this Actions menu will appear in many different places and has the same function and look the entire time. Creating new data in the system generally involves going into the parent entity that you want the new entity to be a child of. So for example, if I wanted to make a new batch next to this one, I would go into the parent, drug substance, And once inside, I'm presented, if I have the rights, with creation buttons for each child precursor that is allowed to be created from, for example, a drug substance. So I'm going to create a new DPI, and we're going to call it the previous batch -3. We'll say it's a white powder. The list of synthesis routes is administrable by those with appropriate rights, and it can be hidden to begin with if you like. There's a bunch of other fields here you see that are given out of the box. Amount remaining currently cannot be modified by users, so the system that you're looking at is configured to manage inventory automatically. So the amount remaining will be updated once the batch is created. We're going to give it a test reference. And for the 3 dates involved in manufacture, expiration, and retest tracking, there are validations involved in entering these dates, such that your expiration has to be after your manufacture, and your expiration has to be after your date of retest. And we can put a test comment in here. And when we create this, we will see it underneath the drug substance parent as a new batch here. And this is what we just put in. Additionally, you will see this now show up in your batch report, and you can find the batch number here, and we can find the one we put in here. Now, when you create a new entity, you always have the ability to submit it for approval. And the approval workflows in CIMS, and I'll open this one to demonstrate, may be a little different than larger scale systems. In order to submit it for approval, you must have the rights to do so. As the person who created it, I automatically do, and as the system administrator, I do as well. So I simply click on Submit for Approval. The system will list for me all of the users that have the rights to approve this. So I'm going to add the admin for now. I can add a second user if I like, and I can change the order. For now, I'm going to just do 1. But the system will send out emails to the person whose turn it is to approve when it becomes their turn to approve. So in theory, if I did these 2, each one would get an email in consecutive order, unless the CIMS administrator user rejected the workflow, in which case it is closed, and it goes back to the originating user. So for now, I can demonstrate with 1 easily, and you end up simply with 1 that is pending approval. And you will now see this added as well as an attachment. Here's the workflow, and here's step 1 of the workflow, and the status is pending. If I were to go up and approve this here, or I can deny it, or I can cancel this submission since I have the rights, but normally only the submitting user can do that. And now we see it is approved. Additionally, almost everything in the system is tracked with an audit trail. If you have the rights, you will see the button that will show you the changes, the date, time, the person who did the change, and the old and new values for every piece of the batch. Here are the main fields of the batch itself. Here are the attachments. You will see updated, deleted, or inserted files with hyperlinks to download each, your dispensations in a similar fashion, and your workflows. The emails that go out to each approver also contain a number of the fields and values for this batch, as well as hyperlinks to approve or reject directly from the email or open this item itself in CIMS to get a better look. You can see the reopen button has now appeared because this batch has completed a workflow and is in the approved state. You can set the editability of these fields to be locked down once the record is approved. And so if a mistake was made or an update needs to be made, the batch would have to be reopened. And all of that is again configurable in the system settings. Thanks for your time.